It would be a shame if over the course of this podcast, we didn't cover some of the classics.
It would.
Real shame. So, so that's what we wanted to do, get back to the bedrock of B movies.
The foundations that we all stand upon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this week we're doing just that. We are going back to a classic that is a perfect example of how a B movie can become a cultural phenomenon. And this one has been such for a very long time.
Yeah, this is one of those that if you haven't seen it, why haven't you?
Exactly. There's no excuse. Shame.
Let's go.
All right. Before we dive in, though, I just want to mention, because we haven't brought it up, because we got so busy wrapped up in our movies, Stage 32. People, go to Stage 32. If you're a creative, get on there. Stage32.com. Find your tribe, folks. Find your tribe. Because the next cultural phenomenon can be done a lot easier when you have access to people who can help you get it done.
That's true. And they don't pay us to say this.
They do not. It works.
It's a great site.
Get on there, network, make some connections. But now, let's get in this bad boy.
Let's do it.
Hello, B-Siders, and welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. I'm Jim.
I'm Danny. And
this week we are bringing you the B movie for horror, the great-grandfather, in this case, of all zombie films. Going to make a little disclaimer here. Yes, there were movies in the 30s like White Zombie, different zombies. Voodoo zombies.
Yeah, voodoo zombies not the same as these kind of zombies.
The undead zombies. So let's get rolling. Yeah. Because this is going to be fun. It's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to run through the film and then talk about things. We're going to kind of talk about all the way through. Because truly, if you haven't seen this by now, shame on you. Especially if you're making zombie films. This is it. Why don't you tell us what we got?
Yeah. Well, the zombies in this film have been dubbed Romero zombies.
Yes, they have.
So you can probably guess the name of this movie.
I don't know.
Night of the Living Dead.
I'm shocked.
Are you?
A little bit.
It was made in 1968, directed by George Romero. Written by John A. Russo and George Romero. Starring Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Day, and Carl Hardman. It was rated R.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a butt.
There is. Well, and there's nipples.
Yep. The budget for this movie was $114,000. The log line of this movie, and thank you so much for getting a short one.
I did my best for you.
A group of people hide from bloodthirsty zombies in a farmhouse.
I thought a pause would be...
Yep, that's it.
Yep, that's all there is. So yeah, Night of the Living Dead. Before we get into this, there's a little note that I honestly did not know this, because it's not the kind of thing you go looking for, right?
Right.
But in just, researching the basic facts, I found out that Night of the Living Dead, this movie from 68 has always been in the public domain.
Yes.
Because here we go. So in 1968, the U.S. copyright law required copyright ownership to be displayed on the actual print of a film. So in the credits. That's why at the end, copyright, Early prints of Night of the Living Dead had the title Night of the Flesh Eaters, under which was the copyright information. When the title was changed for theatrical release, The distributors apparently failed to include the copyright information on the new title and the new prints, and therefore leaving the film uncopyrighted and in the public domain. And this is why there are so many different versions of VHS and DVD recordings. This anniversary, that anniversary, this remastered, this cut, that cut, all this kind of stuff. And because we had talked about many times in the past on really low budget films,
you almost always have this showing in the background.
Yeah, it's on TV or in the theater, and we're like, damn, they must have gotten like a grant. Because to show any kind of clip from any kind of film is, ridiculously expensive. I mean, let's think back to Bubba Hotep. One Elvis song, $500,000 license.
Crazy.
Absolutely ridiculous. I just want to throw that out there that, this has always been in the public domain. And, people have no clue for the most part.
Well, we didn't know.
We do now.
We do.
All right.
Why don't you bring us in?
I'm going to bring us into this. So when the movie starts, we have the opening shot of the long twisting road coming towards the camera. And it does a good job of setting we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's not a lot going on around here vibe. Mm-hmm. And every time I see it, I think this wouldn't fly today. People, especially critics, and we watch riff tracks enough, they hate anything that lasts longer than 3 seconds. Like, hello. Movie. Yeah. We're filming. Did somebody cue the car? But yeah, it really does a good job of setting up that vibe. And the music is pretty standard for a horror film. It's that wobbly, slow, menacing, kind of thing. But the long drive does give us plenty of time for the credits, which, going back to what I said earlier, I can't help but think they took the time to put all these credits in, for the new prints. Mm-hmm. Nobody noticed. You have a long time to sit and think about, is everything up there? There's John's name. There's Fred's name. There's the cameraman. There's the this and that. Where's the copyright?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. And they do still kind of use this shot today, but again, people kind of slam it. And I think it's good mood tone setting at the beginning. No exposition, no dialogue, no weird situation that has to be given to the audience. It's just like, from this vantage point, Jesus, we're nowhere.
Farmland, fields. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it works.
It does. Then the car arrives at the cemetery, and I've never really been sure what's going on with the cemetery sign. There's splotches all over it, and you're like, is it blood? Is it just dirt, grime? Are they trying to tell us something about the cemetery?
I think it's grime, dirt, splotches.
I know, but it almost looks like decal splotches. Like they're so perfect.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, the couple in this car, the man and the woman, look like they're pretty put together for having done a 3-hour drive, which is what they're talking about as we hear them in the car.
Right.
And I know me on a 3-hour drive. By the end of it, my feet are maybe like on the dashboard.
Shoes off.
Right. My hair's been up and down 16 million times. I might be half into a sweater. Like,
I know. I'm very aware.
But anyway, we get a little hint of trouble right at the beginning of this movie. Mm-hmm. Right. It does a really good job of kind of like, ooh, that's weird. From a radio transmission that gets suddenly cut off by Johnny, who's the guy.
Right.
As they pull into the cemetery.
Yeah, it sounds kind of newsy. Mm-hmm. And apparently the radio has been out for the drive. Right. And then it comes on and we got some data. And he just switches it off. And
he goes, oh, sorry for the technical issues. And he's like, oh, well, that's why there's no radio.
Yeah, they were having problems. One thing about how you mentioned how they look, very, very 60s.
Yes.
She's, Barbara, is in her, I don't even know what you call it. I call them the driving coat. Anytime a woman would leave the house, they had different coats.
Yes.
For different things.
For specific reasons, yeah.
They never missed a beat on that. Even when it wasn't practical, like, I'm sorry, but these people couldn't afford 15 different coats. The guy, he's like an assistant, to the assistant coal miner. He's not even making those wages.
It is. That sort of fashion is not practical. And it's almost to the level, in the 60s, it was still almost to the level of like what it is in Downton Abbey, where like, right. God forbid you mix up a dinner jacket with your tails.
I know.
Right?
Oh, that was a rough episode to watch for all of us. My God.
They look exactly the same.
So, all right. Let's get into this again. So Johnny switches off the radio, and then they get into a conversation that is really just a lot of exposition that does nothing for the story, honestly. When you watch this, they give you this information. If you think there's a nugget somewhere, there's no nuggets.
No.
Stop the nugget hunting. It's just dialogue, right?
Yeah.
And what I love about this is, he's bitching and moaning, and she's like, oh, but this and that. They're coming out to lay a wreath on their father's grave.
Yeah.
Because their mother wants it done, but apparently she can't.
For some reason.
Do it. Yeah. And they've been doing this every year. And so they get out of the car and they can't remember where the fucking grave is. Like, if you've made 15, 20 trips to a cemetery, especially this little podunk one, there's maybe 40 headstones?
Right.
And I'm guessing, I'm trying to count the ones we didn't see in the shots.
It's not a vast cemetery.
No, it's not like you're walking down Arlington, right? Looking for a name, one headstone at a time.
Right.
Or, good, bad, and the ugly style. Look for a headstone that says Smith. It's 2,500 graves. It's going to take a little time. And then they start, Barbara is talking about how the time change should be the first day of summer and all this and that. And it's really confusing. They get into, she's like into it. And it's brought up like, this should be something. It has nothing to do with anything.
No.
Right? Other than they're making an excuse for why it's still daylight and supposed to be late in the day. I don't know. I think they shot this at like 2 p.m.
It'll become night really quickly, though.
Oh, yeah. And in these initial shots, Barbara actually looks like somebody who's put together, right? She looks like a responsible. She's got all the proper clothing. She's keeping Johnny in line, the older brother. Oh, Johnny, and she really seems like a heroine, right?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
She's not.
Super wrong assessment.
Yeah.
That's a first timer's mistake. And I think we all make it like, oh, well, okay. She's got a head on her shoulders. Shit. No. So, and then Johnny seems basically just like a bit of a dick. He's snappy. Pretty much. And he's, it's a brother-sister thing going on, but you just kind of get the feeling like, if you get back home in the city, Johnny's the kind of guy you just fucking avoid, right? Or you stand behind on the subway and you're like, if I were to nudge this asshole over, what would happen?
Yeah, he's also really resentful of this whole putting a wreath on the grave situation.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like if Barbara wasn't with him, he would just go to the bar for 6 hours, probably, and then come back and say that he did it.
Probably. I would, that's the character I would see him as. Absolutely. There's a shot of a lone figure off in the distance strolling through the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some thunder. And it's really kind of clever because it's just enough motion in the background to make you notice it, but then it just kind of like goes off shot.
Blink and you might miss it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it seems like nothing, but becomes everything.
Yeah.
That quick hook.
It does.
Yeah.
And the thunderclaps start increasing and they really start to portend what's to come.
Yes.
Right? The sound design of this movie is really good.
It is.
Yeah.
For what they had to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That it makes it. But the thunders followed very shortly by Johnny's famous line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara."
Yeah.
I just love it.
I know. That's probably one of the most... And here's the thing. I bet a lot of people hear that line and maybe even use that line and don't know.
Possibly.
Where it's from.
Yeah. But no sooner do we get that than we see the first zombie in his 3-piece suit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he doesn't look very zombie-like.
No.
He kind of just looks like a guy who maybe hasn't eaten in a week or two.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
No real makeup or anything.
No. Well, you can see, if you're looking for it, you can see the makeup in that they paled him a bit.
And gave him bags under his eyes.
Some bags. And you can see the contour lines, like the triangle under the eye socket and the chin bone and everything. Yeah. Yeah.
But he doesn't look dead.
No.
But he kills Johnny pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Very, very quick scuffle. And then Johnny gently bumps his head on a flat tombstone.
Yeah. And I remember, now I was 6.
It's like a love tap.
Yeah. When I first saw this. And even at 6, I didn't identify that as a killing blow.
No.
Right? I'm like, I've hit my head harder than that. Like the speaker incident I told you about, knocked the speaker off the shelf, the corner hit my head, I had blood coming out in spurts hitting the ceiling. And I was okay. So I'm like, oh, well, he's going to get back up and, he's going to help out. I was fucking wrong about that. He's down for the count, folks.
Yeah. No, he's dead. And and Barbara makes a very painfully slow escape to the car.
Yes.
She loses her shoes in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Her heels.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yes.
Because running in heels is no good.
No.
Yeah. And the shots here are a little like disorienting, shaky cam. And it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
Because things aren't moving very fast.
Right.
But they're trying to get across that this is tense.
It was a very hip thing to do in the 60s, late 60s. Because if you think of the Batman TV show, they were wild with that during the fight scenes and stuff. Or when, especially with the Riddler and the Joker, those two villains, when they were doing their, speech and stuff, they'd always film them at like a 74-degree angle.
Right.
And stuff. I don't know. But yeah, it was very much a thing at the time.
There are better ways to convey tension with camera angles and stuff. But at the time, that was kind of like what you did.
It was hip, yeah.
Yeah. And then 3-piece, the zombie, picks up a brick to break the car window.
Yeah.
And Barbara manages to kind of like put the car in neutral so it can coast gently.
Because she doesn't have the keys.
Right.
Because they're in Johnny's pocket.
Yes.
Yeah.
That seems like it'll be important later.
Which to me was a very deliberate thing to do.
Yes.
And we find out later why. But when you think about it, that's not what would have happened. He would have left the keys in the car. They're in the middle of nowhere. He wants to get out of there as soon as possible. And I know just from growing up in the 70s, my grandfather especially, people left their keys in the car a lot. Just going to run in and get this, going to run in and get that. They're not like leaving it in a parking lot and walking, 6 miles from the end of the lot to the doors of Home Depot.
They'd even leave it running.
Yeah. So, like I said, 6 years old. Took the keys out. What is this?
Weird. Grandpa
only does that when he comes in. For the night. So she gets the car rolling.
Mm-hmm. Down the hill.
Yeah. And I want to, before we continue with Barbara's ride, this zombie 3-piece has always bothered me watching this. Because while we have dubbed the traditional slow moving, dead came back animated flesh eating zombie Romero zombies.
Right.
Right. This was the first step towards inconsistency in this film, because he reminds me of an angry meth head. This zombie, he knows how to use tools.
Yes.
Right? That's not the thing. And the thing is, he picked up that brick to break the window because he couldn't open the door because she had him locked. He is just jamming it. So we have a zombie who knows how to open a fucking car door and then realizes, oh, I'm going to get something and smash the window because he knows what a window is. Right? And he's doing it like he's pissed.
Yes.
Like Barbara's got his next hit tucked away in her petticoat. Right? He is just trying to get in there. I don't know. It just... I'll mention a couple points later that I made notes on. But yeah, it's not actually... This is like a 28 Days Later zombie.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because...
Semi-smart.
Yeah. Well, he's supposed to have been dead and come back. That's the whole thing. This isn't one of those that turns people into maniacs. But yeah, he didn't look real dead.
No.
I mean, no dirt on the suit. He looked like he dropped dead at a board meeting.
Potentially.
On a bus. And they parked and gently laid him out on the grass so he didn't get dirty and take off.
Yeah.
So, all right. So after this weird meth head freak out, Barbara's rolling down the hill.
Yeah. And the car bumps into a tree.
Yeah, kind of gently. You can see the dent before it hits, but hey.
What? No. Shh. And she runs out and makes a beeline to this farmhouse in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
And Three-Piece kind of hobbles after her.
Yeah, now he's moving super slow. Like he's got a Charlie horse.
Yeah.
Right? And because he sprinted across that cemetery.
Yeah.
She almost didn't make it to the car.
Yeah.
Right? If it hadn't been for Johnny and his Nerf head impact on the stone. Right?
His head made of egg.
Yeah.
But she gets inside and the thundercraps.
Thundercraps, ho!
The thunderclaps are getting louder now, and they keep coming.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's creepy and it's very on point.
Mm-hmm.
But Three-Piece has made it to the farmhouse after she's inside. And again, blink and you might miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a lot of little moments like this that...
There are.
Unless you watch this movie 100 times, you don't really think anything of it.
Right.
But Three-Piece accidentally rips the phone line out.
Well, and it's debatable.
From the house.
We had talked about it. Is he just like flailing and catches it, or is he...
Is it intentional?
Yeah. I mean...
Well, it seems like he's kind of getting around and it's in his way, and he like pulls it out.
Yeah.
So that it's no longer in his way.
I guess that would be a satisfactory explanation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, no phone.
No phone in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
In a farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this
is a continuity error that I identified, but I didn't actually write it down. Is later in the movie, we have some characters saying that they've been in the house for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that they tried the phone line and it didn't work.
Right.
But the phone line was still connected up until just this point right now.
Right. And and nowhere in the film does it give the indication that phone lines are like, that phone service is gone in large swaths. There's nothing like that. Because this isn't like zombie apocalypse. Right?
No.
This is just the very beginning of this weird shit happening in little pockets, and it's getting, crazy, but yeah, it's not like, Walking Dead where, a month later, fucking everything is gone.
Right.
It's pure survival mode. One of the things that I really like about this house is the shots. She gets into the house and this first shot is brilliant it's pitch black around the edges. There is just a super bright beam of light coming through the window. So it's this narrow column of light cutting across the kitchen and through the center of it and on her. And it's already feeling claustrophobic, going from the outside to the inside.
Yes.
Right? Big sweeping shots of the outside. And now we're in a house. And, 3-piece meth head is out there doing his thing. But that whole darkness around the edges is persistent as she's walking through the house, right? She gets into a different room, and there's this bright column of light, which speaks to just exactly where are the fucking windows in a lot of this. But with the blackness around the edges, it makes you feel like, she's just, there's not a lot there.
Right.
And it's a little creepy because
it is.
There's stuff there. What's in that black edge around the screen? And the bright light against the stark darkness, it works so well because it's black and white.
Yep.
It only works to this level in a black and white film. And you have to set it and the lighting and everything and the right kind of film and the camera settings to make it work. They've tried this. We've seen some movies where they kind of focus in on, the person, a little bit of light, and then there's the darkness around. Looks just kind of video gamey to me. I mean, I'm not, not my thing.
I hear you.
In color kind of spoils a lot of these magical effects that you can pull off with lighting. Yeah.
Well,
it's,
And I've seen movies like this colorized, and this movie colorized.
Right.
And I just can never get on board with it because they were meant to be filmed in black and white.
Well, they were. And that's the thing. When you start to add color, you lose the lighting like this. It loses all of its magic. And the color is so artificial looking in a lot of these films that it just takes you out of it. And then there's the floating head. Men wearing suits always have a floating head. They have never yet done where the top of the shirt collar meets the neck. There's always this gray fucking line. Like this nether realm, and it doesn't look like that on regular film.
No.
It doesn't look like that in black and white. And if you shoot it in color, it doesn't look like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's like this illustrator's line that at any moment, like a Pez head could just come right off. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
So this is as she's going through the whole house. There's the one shot of the skinless face as she's going up the stairs.
Yeah.
Was awesome. And the first time I saw it, I was like,
yeah.
Now we're getting into something because, meth head 3-piece isn't spooky.
No.
He's only spooky in the sense that anyone would, if you wanted to, had to adjust that. If you wanted to freak somebody out because someone's having a fucking fit, that's spooky.
Sure.
We've seen it walking down State Street.
Well, yeah.
Right. When we're with Lily. And
people that you give a slightly wider berth to.
Yeah. Especially when they're like losing their shit at a trash can or a lamppost. Right. Yeah. You give some berth because you don't want to be in this situation.
No.
That's the level of spooky he was. This fucking skinless face was beautiful. You have no idea. That's it. That's the pinnacle, the peak, the high moment of special effects. There's some lesser ones, but nothing on that level for the rest of the film.
Sorry, kids.
Well, hey, you know what? If you didn't watch it and these are spoilers, shame on you once again. And when it pops up, it does make you jump. Yes. And this is one of those, it's not a jump out at you scare, like a lot of the movies we don't like, the horror movies that rely on that. This is just a shot of something, and it's not what you expect.
Right.
So it's commendable and it works. The skinless face freaks Barbara out. So she flees down the stairs, throws open the door, ready to fly out of this house, even though, 3-Piece is out there doing what he's doing. Bam! We're introduced to Ben.
Yes.
Because he's there.
In the truck with the lights.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Ben, so he gets in the house, right? Immediately shuts the door, and the zombies are out there. There's a couple more of them now.
Yeah.
He's zipped up in the truck, like right to the stairs, comes in the house, shuts the door. And the thing about this guy, I loved how he carried the scenes, throughout the whole film.
He's amazing.
Well, he is. And this is one of those where, we're talking about a short film where we need 2 people who can carry the screen.
Yes.
Because it's just the 2 of them back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing else to support them except the background set. But they have to do everything, right? And Ben brings it.
He does.
Right? Dwayne, the actor, fucking magnificent. Just absolutely fucking fantastic. He's talking to Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of panicked, like, so, hey, see what's going on here? I got on here, and he's going. Now, Barbara hasn't officially checked out yet.
Right.
But she's sort of worthless right now. But it's okay because he's carrying it. He's talking to her, then himself, as if he's talking to her. And, I noted because she's checked out, she does have a little bit of interaction, but then she fully checks out.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going through the house looking for food. Anyway, just these couple minutes with him, you get like, this is the man with the plan.
Yep.
This is the fucking guy I'm going to get behind no matter what's going on. This is my
stick to this guy like glue.
Yeah. This is my Daryl. This isn't Rick Grimes because he's fraught with fucking problems.
He really is.
Right. But Daryl, yeah.
Solid dude.
Well, you just know that I don't give a shit what anybody says. I don't care how much sense or lack of common sense there is in what he's got going. I trust this dude because he gets shit done. And so Ben is doing that. He's running through the house, and like I said, he's the man with the plan. Barbara is giving us. She's not that put together woman anymore.
No.
That one scare has basically turned her into a catastrophe waiting to happen.
And she's a mute.
Well, she is. And she kind of has that, like she had bad math. Just that long 1,000-yard stare. It's not amping her up. It's just, And I've always thought that Barbara's character sets the bar for useless characters in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. In most horror films, the useless characters, they're like the first to get picked off, right? Not here.
No.
She holds her own. Well, she doesn't hold her own. She manages to fucking survive long into the film, far past the point where you want to see Barbara survive into the film.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, yeah, Ben finishes up, and then they end up in one room together.
Yeah, and finally Barbara, finds her voice and asks him what's happening over and over and over again.
Right.
And he's almost just ignoring her. Because it's kind of like, you dumb bitch. Obviously,
Yeah.
If you don't know what's happening, just get with the program. This is what needs to be done. There are more zombies outside now.
Yes.
2 whole ones. Mm-hmm.
The horde is growing.
And they don't seem to like the light from the truck headlights.
No, they don't. And that's something that he did. I didn't note it down because it's just one of those things. I've seen it so many times. Just to register as a point. In this film, zombies don't like light.
No.
Bright light.
Right.
Which, I don't know. I'm not an astrophysicist, but I do know my science. And I'm going to go on record as saying this. The sun is pretty fucking bright.
True.
It didn't seem to bug them one goddamn bit.
Not at the end, no.
No.
But Ben goes out and bashes their heads in while they're sort of like disoriented by the lights.
Yeah, and I want to just note that. Yeah, he goes out with a crowbar.
Yeah.
That's what he came in with from the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes back out with it and pops him on the head and puts him down.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. We'll come back to that because I got something to say about that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, another zombie somehow gets inside the house.
Zombie number 3, I named him.
Okay. Number 3. It's important to note here that Ben seems to know that an injury to the head is how to kill them, right? Because he went and bashed the heads in of those 2 zombies outside.
Right.
And this holds true today for pretty much every single variety of zombie in most films.
Right.
And most, TV film that's been done since.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this movie does kind of set the rule for zombies, which is why, these kind of zombies are called Romero zombies.
Yeah.
Right? The ones from Walking Dead, we call them Romero zombies.
Yes.
The ones from pretty much every zombie movie that's been done since this.
Yeah. Dawn.
Except for the occasional weird ones.
Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, the older ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start getting into weird, I don't know, some of the zombies, like the 28 Day Later zombies. Okay, they're not even zombies. They're not even people who are technically dead.
Right.
They just get some shit in their system and they go fucking crazy. They're hard to kill. That's the thing. Hard to kill.
Yes.
And then we have I don't know.
Like World War Z zombies, which run.
Well, that was ridiculous.
People don't seem to like running zombies.
No. Well, I mean, some do. Here's the thing. Watch this film. If you haven't, and you're going to make a movie about zombies, all right, watch this. And we're going to talk about some inconsistencies as we keep going through.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to say this. CGI has no place in a zombie film. Unless you're showing New York City.
Right.
A year or 2 into the zombie apocalypse. And you're not going to be able to fill streets with that many people. You're not going to be able to afford it, right?
True.
Do them up as zombies and show them just kind of muddling around. Walking Dead, they do a lot of CGI with the zombie hordes that have shown up every other season, right? I'm okay with that, but do not put 5,000 zombies on screen, CGI, and then have them running around like fucking Sonic.
Oof.
They're climbing up each other over these 100-foot walls and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn it, they're zombies, but physics is still physics, right? You put that much weight on the zombie at the bottom, he turns into pudding.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps going. So you end up with a pile of zombie pudding, and the people on top of the wall are perfectly safe.
Right.
Right.
I mean, even the zombies in the movie Zombies.
Oh, yeah.
Another B movie, which is just wonderful. I love that one.
We'll be hitting that one in a while.
We will. Those ones are classic Romero zombies. The twist in that movie, though, is that it's from their point of view, the zombies' point of view, and they don't realize that they're zombies.
How they perceive, yeah.
Right.
It's the idea that zombies communicate. It's kind of that whole thing of you look at cats and dogs and stuff. You're like, well, what's really going on?
Right.
Every Disney film has dogs and cats communicating. This is the zombie version of that.
Yeah.
From their perspective, they've had a rough day.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They all recognize, man, it's been a tough day, but they don't quite get how fucked up they look.
No.
And then they do a couple cutaway shots where people, we see it from the people's perspective.
Yeah.
Romero zombies.
They're Romero zombies. Yeah.
And then they cut back to them, and they're like, Jughead and Archie having a good time.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
It is. But the rules in this movie, Night of the Living Dead, are sort of loose. Right?
They're a little loose. Yeah.
But they shuffle. They don't speak. That's always been an important rule. Zombies don't speak, right? They eat flesh. They can only be killed by damage to the brain.
Right.
Basic zombie rules.
Right. Well, and then there's this one even kind of is a little up and down. Some of them are super silent. Some of them
Right.
Okay, that's debatable. It's not even worth having a panel discussion about. Do zombies moan, breathe? Do they actually breathe oxygen? Because they show how zombies can survive underwater. So clearly the lungs don't matter. And, it's a zombie film. It's a horror movie. It's supposed to be fun and spooky. So yeah, the zombie with no throat at all. Right? 2 flaps of skin on his forehead going, oh, let it go. It bugs me, but I just let it go.
It's fine.
Now, aside from this shaky action, and I say that because it's shaky cam. That's the only way to amp it up. Because, Huey and Dewey outside were nothing spooky, and the guy inside the house was the slowest of them all.
I mean,
well,
honestly.
He was so slow, it gave us an unnecessarily long period of time with Barbara looking freaked out.
Right.
Instead of actually doing anything.
And enough time to write all these extraneous notes.
Yes. And kind of just disappear for a little while.
Right.
In my head. But aside from the shakiness, the shots are still great because they're very focused. They have some depth to them. It's not just pop the zombie, pop the zombie, pop the zombie. It's they come in and you got the zombie coming. You see Ben coming. And the lens that they used to distort the distance, it's literally 7-8 feet.
Right.
I mean, it's just one side of the door to the kitchen to the other. But you have the zombie and Ben's looking kind of small. And as he comes closer, he's, big Ben. Yes. By the time he gets there. It was really well done. And then we still have the light and dark working for us.
Yes.
Right. And, it really paints a picture of Jesus Christ. This isn't going to end soon, and it's not going to get better.
No.
Right? You can just tell. It's like, oh, he took care of those guys, closed the door, took care of this guy. But it can't be that simple. You just feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he takes care of that zombie. Yeah. And drags the body outside and lights it on fire. And it goes up like kindling.
I know.
Like a haystack that you've doused in gasoline.
Yes. It went up quick and fierce.
Yeah. And all I could think was, Jesus, isn't it still a body? I mean, maybe it's those old highly flammable suits that people wore back then, right?
It was the rise of the leisure suit. And let me tell you, folks, polyester might be plastic, but boy, does it burn.
Ooh. Yep. But to Ben's credit, he's learning as he goes, and he's applying everything he learns right away, right?
Yes.
Fire, light, good.
Yes. They don't like it.
Right? And he's with it.
He's the man with the plan.
Yes.
He's the guy you want to be behind. So Ben goes back in and he finally hits the light switch. And for me, the tone of the movie has changed. The dark, darkness around the edges are gone. For a farmhouse, this bad boy is superbly lit.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in places, old places, where the lighting either A, didn't exist, or B, when it was put in, it was like, oh, that's it, huh? Fuck. And we've had to buy how many floor lamps and
how many extraneous lamps do we have in this house right now?
The ones we just got tired of throwing them out, so we kept them.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, the light changes it. It's very bright. And it kind of shifts being in the house from this, fuck, what a terrible place to be, to like a hopeful feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Like the story has changed a bit. And it's I don't know, like that light comes on, you're like, they're going to take the kingdom back.
Right. Metaphorically, right? And literally.
Yes.
It's far less dark.
Exactly.
Right.
And, but yeah, it's, I don't know, it's the safety and then the salvation.
Yeah.
But being a horror film that involves people, not just people running from shit blindly, you know that, okay, we feel safe from the zombies, but there's going to be some other fucking dilemma. It starts coming.
Yes. Well, he tells Barbara to get some wood. Because this whole time she's been just a completely useless tit.
She really is.
Just standing around staring blankly at him. And his plan is to board up the doors and windows. Oh. Anyway, this house, for some reason, is just filled to the gills with lumber.
I know. I've been on farms. You lived on a farm.
I did.
And I've been on all kinds of farms, modern farms, super old farms. I have never been on a farm where they have so much pre-cut lumber.
I know.
In like every fucking room of the house. And here's the thing. There's no sign of any kind of remodeling, and there's not enough lumber of any one particular kind to do anything anyway.
True.
This house looks pretty nice inside.
Yeah, and we do get some scenes of him like breaking stuff up for some wood.
Yeah, like a table and...
But even so, I think if we went through our house and broke up all the things that were wood that we could like nail up to the windows and doors and stuff, we'd come up short.
Very. well, I mean, he's pulling planks out from under the fucking couch cushions.
Right?
Furniture, corner lamps, all this shit.
It's crazy. And then Barbara comes back with like 3 teeny tiny, like maybe a foot long at most,
right?
Pieces of wood.
It looks like starter kindling.
Yeah.
I think that's where she got it, was the fireplace.
Yeah, I think so.
Or the stack of firewood or something.
It was like on top of a fridge, maybe, or I don't know.
Basically, she came with the equivalent of 3 fucking rulers.
I know.
And the fucking look he gives her, it's so quick, but it's like, bitch, are you kidding me?
Gee, thanks.
Oh my God. So, even with Barbara being no help, Ben finally gets the kitchen secured. And he mentions that if, shit goes bad, they can run back into the kitchen.
Right.
Right? Because that's the secure spot for right now. That's their safe room.
Yeah.
The zombies are afraid to enter now. That's what he says. Because apparently, because they lit,
the body on fire.
The body on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And fucked up the 2 in the front yard.
Yeah.
They're afraid.
There's still the lights from the truck, and he's turned on every light in the house.
Right. But we see, in not too long, that's not the case. So you can look at it one of 2 ways. One, you can look at it as a massive fucking problem with the story. Or 2, you can look at it as an intentional, maybe, this is Ben's dialogue. Ben might actually think, I've got shit under control. I've got the lights on, got windows up. They've seen how I can fuck them up. They're not coming near me.
Right.
But that kind of dumbs Ben down a bit. The man with the plan is now thinking, yeah, these things, and he knows they're things, right? Because he refers to them, that, they're put together enough to put 1 and 2 together and figure out, let's leave Ben alone. So I don't know where people will fall on that. I just look at it as just, I wouldn't say a glaring hole, but a pretty significant bump in the story. Maybe
he's just saying it to comfort Barbara.
Well, he does keep talking a lot. At this point, honestly, I would have fucking quit talking to her. I would have actually steered her to a corner and just left her there. And she knows she would have stayed there.
Yeah.
Right? Because she is just fucking useless. Okay. This is the point where Ben is talking about how they're afraid of the fire, the light, and this is kind of where they just start obliterating the zombie genre rules before they're even set down. That was just one of the things that I noted because, they're like, well, we got this and that. Like, never after this movie have I, seen a, fucking halogen flashlight turn a zombie away.
No.
So we got Ben talking again, and now he's explaining what's happened to him before he arrived, how he got here, and it works. It's not expositional in where he's just like, so let me tell you all about me. Right. He's talking, but while he's talking, he's busy. He's doing busy work still, right? At this point, he's taking the legs off of a table. Instead of trying to bust them off, he's like taking the screws out and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's talking to her. And I thought this was pretty cool because this is something that's missed in a lot of horror films or any kind of film where there's this crisis, right? When you're in that crisis and you're not like fleeing, you're at a point where you're not running. There's two very human nature things that happen that keep you from losing your shit. And that is talking and keeping busy.
Yes.
Right. And I don't mean talking like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, yeah, I was doing this and doing that. And I couldn't see this. And he's working on that leg. And because he knows what he's got to do.
Right.
It's all going. Unfortunately, it's all fucking lost on Barbara. Right. Because you can't motivate empty space. And that's basically what she is at this point.
Yeah.
She's not bringing anything to it. But it does set Ben, again, he's very calm. And he's very practical as he's doing all this.
Yes.
You just love the hell out of this guy.
You do. And Dwayne is a really solid actor.
He is.
He's the best of this movie.
Oh, hands down.
I mean.
And that's not like saying, he's all right. But, with everybody else in the movie, because there's some pretty good performances, I mean, and you can't fault Barbara.
Right.
The actress, because this is how it was written. And she did a good job.
She did.
Of being useless, which isn't always an easy thing to do.
No.
But yeah, as an actor, he's strong. He brought a lot to Ben.
He did. And Romero got really lucky in casting him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think, if it was a missed phone call or someone was late on the bus.
Right.
Or, decided to go to the zoo or something next town over. If that had been missed, that initial communication, man, how different would this movie be?
Right.
But,
yeah.
It's good though.
Yeah. And he carries the whole movie, and his monologue in this spot really actually lays the creepiness for zombies. Because he talks about how he was in the truck and there's just like 20 of them or something.
Right.
And he's like, so I started going forward and they just stayed there.
Yeah.
And I just basically mowed them down. And, as he's talking about that, I'm like, Jesus. If you imagine that real situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is creepy.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
But then Barbara has a monologue. I'm going to put this in air quotes, explaining what happened to her and Johnny. Her story is impossible to follow. It's jumbled all over the place. She's jumping everywhere. She's not speaking in full sentences. And she's coming on heavy with the craziness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it's pretty on par with what like hysterical women in movies in the 60s, It
was. She's in shock.
Yes.
Yeah, she's on the verge of being completely incoherent.
Mm-hmm.
She's repeating. She's getting anxious. She's lost. She's not even having the conversation. You can tell it's it's just coming out.
Yeah.
And it's not really a dialogue. It's just like, I don't know, the version of crazy, just crazy's coming out.
Right.
Can't keep it in anymore.
And Ben's initially paying attention because this is the most that she said the whole time that they've been,
well, yeah, because he's been
other.
Carrying everything,
Right. But even he just stops paying attention after a certain amount of time and goes back to doing what he was doing.
You can see he just gives that look like, oh,
okay then.
This isn't going to fucking help me at all. I'm going to go back to my stuff.
Right. And then she starts to get really violently hysterical.
Yes.
And he smacks her.
Yes.
To, like, quit it. Basically.
Which was a very common thing.
Yes.
Back then, through the 70s, up through the 80s.
Yeah.
We've still seen some pretty recent stuff where they, slap the hysterical
snap out of it
person.
Right.
Yeah,
and she faints, much to everyone's relief.
I know. Your first initial thought is, oh, Jesus Christ, really? Knocked her out? Oh, wait, she's fucking down. Good.
Yes. And he gently lays her on the couch and turns on the radio. And it's their only connection to the outside world, because by now we've established that the phone doesn't work, right?
Yes.
And the news station starts talking about mass homicides.
Yeah. And before we go on, I want to just make a note. So if you haven't seen the film, okay,
shame.
The character of Ben is African American, right? It's a black man as a lead, which caught my attention as a kid because you just didn't get to see that. But there were they call them the Blaxploitation films, the craze, where they had, everything from cop shows to gangster shows and everything, where they, had some sort of like Isaac Hayes version of whatever. And it was, very jive and, very pre-Motown, because Motown was still coming around.
And there were a lot of those in the 70s.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this predated even those.
Right. And, notably, it wasn't that there was a black man or woman as a lead. The entire cast was.
Right.
That's why they call them Blaxploitation. It was literally Hollywood's money grab on an ethnic group that they knew weren't being represented. Because we had Sidney Poitier popping up in films, and people were like, that's a fucking miracle that they still give him work. Aside from the fact that he's one of the top 10 great fucking actors.
Yeah.
Right. Of several ages. There was still a lot of race issues. But the thing about this is we have Ben, a black man, smacking a white woman, which was ballsy to put on film in 1968. This was not a well-received kind of thing in cinema.
Mm-mm.
And from a common sense standpoint, you think, well, it's one character smacking another because they just lost their shit. Today, instead of a slap, stop it, wham, it's usually like a punch or a blow to the head with a book or something, and then a third character, why'd you do that? But he's fucking going nuts. We can't have that. Tie him up or something, they lock him away. There's some sensibility to it. But yeah, this was really ballsy. And for those of you who remember the Star Trek, the original series, when James Kirk kissed Uhura, that was the first cross-racial kiss on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And nearly cost people their jobs, nearly cost them the show. There were a lot of people who did not care for that. Luckily, there were even more people who were like, it's about time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a hard fought battle to tip those scales in favor of this is the right thing to do and it's okay.
Right.
So yeah, when I first saw this and I see it now, I keep thinking, Romero, man, put his pair up on the table and just let the dice roll.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty ballsy. The radio is babbling. And it's just, they're talking like assassins. That was the thing that caught me. These assassins, like their initial thoughts were these zombies are groups of assassins from a foreign power, just fucking randomly murdering the populace in various areas of the country.
Right.
But I always thought a slightly better job could have been done with that part. I think it was maybe too much. It's one of those things that I'll mention later on is the presence of the radio and the TV. It comes and goes.
Yes.
Right. When it's up in your face, there's really not a lot of important shit going on.
No.
But in a little bit, we get some super important shit.
Yes.
Right.
In the background.
Well, we'll go into it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to jump ahead. Okay.
All right. At this point, I'm guessing that the haystack zombie that was lit on fire earlier has burned down. So Ben,
one would think,
is dousing a couch in lighter fluid, pushing it outside, and there are more zombies we see. There's like a handful of them.
There are.
Yeah. It's not an overwhelming amount of zombies, but he seems like, oh, there's more. And he, he lights the couch on fire after pushing it outside.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing his best to keep them away from the house while he boards it up.
Yeah.
And while all this is going on, the radio keeps blathering away.
And and there's one thing about this. So there's a spot in here where the radio is constantly there, right? And if you watch it a few times, you get that radio. They don't Foley up the sound, right?
Right.
So it's not like the radio is going like this, and then here's an important part that's coming in, and they go like this. It's always back there, yeah. But it plays a trick on you in a little bit. But the one thing watching Ben is he's I just love the character because he's written and acted as someone who finds solutions instead of just bitching, right? And that's just really great. Of course, there's yin and yang, and we're about to get our yang.
Yeah. But in between here, we get a little bit of a foreshadow warning that I wanted to bring up, right? Which is a pause and a focus on the basement door.
Right. And
which is almost not even a door. It's like a cutout of the wall.
Yeah.
With a little handle in. And that's pretty typical of farmhouses.
Yeah, for a cellar door, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why bother having like a real proper door?
Right.
Doesn't, that's just money.
Yeah.
Just cut a chunk of drywall out. It's fine. But, whatever could be in there.
Oh, I know. Well, then we cut to Ben taking a break and having a cigarette. Mm-hmm. And I thought, fucking A, man, if anybody has earned any, it's you. And I just love that he does it. And he looks like, he knows he's earned it. But you also get the sense that he's not like, I'm done. It's like, if I don't take this fucker now, it's going to be another 6 hours before I get another chance. Because he knows he's got stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mentioned the radio. Radio is playing while he's just chilling. And it's been playing this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you catch it. Sometimes it took me a few times seeing the movie as I got older to catch this bit. There is a detail on the radio that explains all this bullshit started 2 days ago. Right?
Yeah.
First reports were 2 days ago in these small areas, and now it's expanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That is a hugely important piece of information.
It is.
But here's the thing. Romero could have brought that to us a little more, with more volume, a little more focus on that information. But Ben's scenes are so engaging, even when he's just like, fuck, he's taking 5 minutes. You don't pay attention to the background noise.
You tune it out.
Right? You are so focused on him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's wonderful. This is what you want your horror movie hero to be, is you want somebody who just brings the audience in, right? And even so much so, now I knew it happened. I knew that it happened, and I knew it was coming, so that's why I made the note. You missed it.
Right.
Right? I missed it. I just made the note beforehand, but I knew that part was coming, but I didn't hear it because I was still, every time I watch it, I'm just, this fucking guy's great.
He is great.
Charisma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the music cues up creepy.
Yes.
And it's subtly done. And this happens pretty often in the movie, and it happens to me every time I watch this movie, which is that the music is already playing by the time you realize that it's there.
Yeah.
Right? it blends so well into what's going on that you're suddenly like, oh, there's music. How long has that been going on? Creepy.
That's true. And like Halloween, that music from Halloween, you can play that, and that's like, the fucking Red Cross visually is the most recognized symbol in McDonald's arches. That dun, 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 from Halloween. You play that, 90% of the people are going to be like, "Oh, Michael Myers."
Yeah.
It's a jarring rhythm and tempo and volume. But again, watching that movie over and over, it somehow just starts. And
then you're in it.
And then you're like, oh, fuck the music. And then you realize, it was 5-10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is good sound design.
It's excellent
and good
sound
scoring.
design.
That's bringing everything in.
Yeah. So Ben finds a gun in the closet. Back to the movie.
Yep.
While we're waiting to find out what's behind the basement door, he also very considerately brought Barbara some shoes.
Yes.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
And there's a little continuity error. And actually, they do point this out in the riff tracks.
Yeah.
Of Night of the Living Dead.
Just to be clear, we did not watch the riff tracks version.
No.
For this episode. We've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, but he says the house is boarded up pretty tight, but the window directly behind him is not boarded up at all.
It's clearly not even barricaded by a table.
And he tells her that he's going to go upstairs, but she's back to being mute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, okay, whatever. So he goes upstairs. And the radio starts driving home the fact that the zombies eat their victims.
Yeah. Over and over and over. Eating the flesh of their victims, eating their victims. The victims have been eaten. Show signs of being eaten, having been eaten. And they're being eaten by their well, they never really say attackers, I don't think. But, the victims and the perpetrators. The perpetrators are eating their victims.
Yeah. Anyway. 2 men come up from the basement through the door and scare Barbara into making a sound.
Yes.
Finally. And we learn pretty quickly that these 2 are basically cowards, especially the bald one.
Yeah, I guess some stuff to say about the bald one.
And we learn that there's at least a wife and a kid downstairs.
Right.
And the kid is hurt.
Yeah.
And that's going to set up another zombie rule, but I won't give it away right now.
Right. Yeah. And then we get a repeat of the broadcast. More murder victims. Fucking people have been eaten. It's just kind of crazy shit. And the thing about Barbara at this point is I thought, you know what? She'd be more effective as a fucking Chia pet.
Yeah.
Because at least, you could pick her up and throw her at a zombie or something. So anyway, when Ben comes rolling down, the outcome of the whole situation was pretty passive.
Yeah.
Right? We can clearly see Barbara is not real hip on the radio. Murder, eaten, flesh, eating flesh, murder. Yeah, she just doesn't look like she wants any part of this. So, we have the guys come up from the basement. So, yeah, the bald guy, Mr. Cooper, he's the one with the wife and the daughter. I call him Smarms. And the reason I call him Smarms is because he's a smarmy fucker. And this is the character that just reeks of being a cowardly asshole, right? Mm-hmm. He wants to hide in the cellar. Ben believes that they're safe. And this is the thing. This is where the continuity starts to come apart. Those things have no strength. I pushed 3 of them out the door, like they were nothing. Yet, 3-piece, came at Barbara.
Johnny. Oh, yeah, Barbara.
Well, Barbara and Johnny, like a fucking steroid-induced chihuahua going after a ham. I mean, and obviously Johnny lost. If they had no strength.
Yeah.
it wasn't like Johnny was running away and tripped and, cracked his eggshell thin skull. Right? The zombie threw him down.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another thing, right? Anyway, so we have, 3-piece, and he was busting up shit left and right.
Right.
Okay.
And yet, even though Mr. Cooper doesn't believe they have any strength, he still wants to go hide in the cellar.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've set it up. We have Ben, who's, this is what's going on. I'm dealing with shit as it comes. And then you've got Smarms, who, I just want to hide in the corner and let someone else deal with all this bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the division of characters is quick and plainly made.
Yeah.
Right. Cooper wants to go in the cellar. Ben wants to stay on the main floor. The other one who came up from the cellar, Beach Boy, who is named Tom.
Yeah. I call him Beach Boy.
He's kind of on Ben's side, right?
He is. He's the character who doesn't have the wherewithal to deal with the situation.
Right.
But he's the guy who's going to back the one who makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Right. And it's almost always the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a trope figure in a lot of multi-character horror things.
Yeah. So Cooper's like, well, I'm going back down the cellar and I'm going to blockade the door and, fuck all you guys. Dick move.
Yep.
Right? And Tom calls him out on it.
Yeah. And outside, the zombies are gathering. And as Ben walks past a window, all these arms reach through to grab him. Yeah. So here's a couple of things. Number one, there's no broken glass. Number two, so it's like Ben ran around and opened all the fucking windows and then boarded them up. We missed that at some point. Anyway, these arms come through. So clearly these fucking zombies aren't afraid of the light in the house at all.
Right.
Right? Clearly they have some strength because it's not like they're reaching in with like SpongeBob noodle arms. Right? They present a real issue.
Yeah.
And zombies aren't supposed to be superhuman strength, but they're also not supposed to be, otherwise what fucking terror would they be? Flick them away. and it's not a horror movie.
Yeah.
So we also get the falling apart of the headshot thing.
Yes.
Right? They pop off a couple body shots and then a headshot.
Mm-hmm.
So they get it or they don't. Well, okay, hold on. And then in the midst of all this, because we cut outside in the zombie menagerie out there, we have a woman bare-assed walking towards the house.
Yep.
And the light on her ass is bright.
It is.
And it wasn't an accident. You fucking know Romero wanted that bare ass in that shot not to be missed. Because more subtly, it cuts to a side view from just under the tit up.
Yes.
With just enough light to see her bare nipples walking. And it's like 1,000. Nope, gone.
Mm-hmm.
But he put it in there. I'd never understood the point of it.
It's okay.
Even sexy naked ladies can be zombies too.
Right. And notably, she doesn't have any zombie makeup on.
No, and that's one of the best parts. Is most of these fucking zombies have no makeup other than like 3-piece with you can tell they paled the face and they put some circles under their eyes. As you see these people walking around, like the one that made it in the house wouldn't have had a clue.
No.
And some of the zombies they cut to, one guy looks like, fucking James Dean, white t-shirt and, feathered, nice. His hair is actually, they all look so fucking good.
Yeah.
I mean, did they all die in a beauty salon or barber chair and then start roaming? Because they look pretty put together.
That's how I want to go.
Well, in this menagerie scene, we get to see some zombie makeup.
Yes.
So some of them have wounds, right? Just, don't know the hows or whys of it. Some of them are a little more extensive than others, but this is where they focus on them explicitly, right? And if he had thrown them in any of these other scenes, we would have missed it, just like the radio bit about the 2 days. You wouldn't have caught So they really showcased what makeup they could afford after the faceless, or the skinless face.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it's still, it's good for that.
It is.
But it is confusing.
Yes.
Like, are these the OG zombies?
Right?
It's like that vampire thing. Are these the originals? And the rest of these are fucking posers, with the pale faces and, just mute look.
And some of them had makeup and some of them are normal looking. But it's fine. So Cooper, the pissy guy, goes down to the cellar. Smarms. Tom calls his girlfriend up.
Yeah.
Which I guess she's another person who was down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And down in the cellar, we see the wife and kid.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tom's girlfriend has gone up. Cooper has gone down. He's with his wife and kid. It's just the three of them. And the acting between him and his wife is... I just...
You go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, she learns about the radio and she's like pretty pissed. She's like, "Why the fuck are we staying down here then? What?
Yeah.
That's dumb."
This is a very typical trope for that period. You almost get the he's like from Jersey or the Bronx or something. Think of like Marvelous Ms. Maisel.
Yeah.
Right? They have some dynamics like this.
They do.
Where the husband is just this, insufferable prick.
Yeah.
Right? But he doesn't have the upper hand in the marriage because he's married to a woman who has her petticoats and her hats and all the proper shoes so she can go to all the fucking places and look like she's, But, I'm dressed for the right occasion.
Right.
But she will snap his balls into place in a fucking second.
Right.
And she does.
Like, oh, is that important to you?
Yeah.
Being right?
Yeah. and when she gets pissed and just ball clamps him, the look on his face is just wonderful. But this is played, again, it's very trope-ish. It's played in a lot of films, horror and otherwise, especially in that period.
Yeah, so they agree to go back up. Now, they've been down here for all of 2 seconds after he made his bold declaration that I'm going down here and we're not coming back up. So, 2 seconds later, they agree to come up if Tom's wife or girlfriend.
Yeah, Judy.
Yeah, will come down to watch the kid who's hurt.
Yeah.
And again, the music starts.
Yeah.
And the wife, Helen, comes up and tries to talk to Barbara. Doesn't get very far.
Rookie mistake.
If only she'd asked Ben, she would know.
Right.
There's no talking to Barbara. And Cooper paces and bitches about the windows.
Yeah.
And
because he can't see out of them now.
Right.
Fuck.
Oh my God.
Douchebag.
But Tom and Ben have grabbed a TV from upstairs and brought it down.
Right.
And we get a lot more exposition. And somehow, with the picture on the TV, it's less engaging than the radio was.
I know. Yeah. It didn't pull you in.
No.
It actually bored me. It still does.
Yeah. Put this away, turn the radio back on.
I mean, it's public domain. Maybe we can get ourselves a reel and just start editing all this extemporaneous shit out.
We could. But we learn that the zombies, and this is where we learn officially, that the zombies are the unburied dead coming back to life and eating people.
Yeah.
Unburied being the, key term here.
Right. And, okay, we won't even get into that.
But the TV newscaster says that there are rescue centers being set up.
And this is one of the things I had noted. I just want to comment quick. So, and he does it in such a apologetic way. When this all began, we were telling you to stay home and safe and locked behind closed doors and don't barricade yourself in, don't go outside. And now we have rescue centers. So by all means, flee into this fucking weird ass apocalyptic thing and run as fast as you can.
Hope for the best.
Yep, hope for the best.
What?
Some fast foot action, race for the G's.
Yep.
Oh, fuck. But I want to talk about Smarms.
Okay,
Cooper.
Let's talk about Smarms.
This fucking guy is as trope as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
The smarmy little shit. Why is it? Is it like not being an actor? I don't know. Is it a thing in Hollywood where someone says, "Oh, hey, we got you this part, and you're going to play this, cowardly kind of just general overall dick." And if you look on page 12 of your SAG manual, right, on how we want everybody to act, you got to look like you just bit into your own shit. And then play the rest of the movie like you're just chewing that turd for all it's worth. Why do they all have these crumple-faced fucking... I don't know. He is the
like
most...
a flat-faced cat.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing. I mean, effectively, it irritates me. So it does... I mean, it's effective in that manner. But isn't there another way we could have, a general overall dick on screen without him... that's the first thing I think of is did he surprise himself with his own fragrance? What the fuck is going on? But yeah, I was just crumple faced and, like any second he's going to suck his fucking lips in, and they'll shoot out his ass. I don't know. Anyway, he's the biggest disappointment of the film because he is so ridiculously predictable. And visually, these fucking guys are always bald too in these movies. I mean, yeah, but yeah, he is the least satisfying character.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So when Helen is trying to talk to Barbara and she lights a cigarette, we get a response from Barbara, who looks at her. Like she just ate her own shit.
Yeah.
Like she's a sort of mutant. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? A cigarette?
You can't smoke in here.
Right? What is her big bitch? Because she had a cigarette herself.
I know.
At one point.
Yeah.
Hypocritic, vegetative bitch. Yeah. And then, so then Smarms rips into Barbara.
Yeah.
Right? And this is pretty cool because Ben comes sweeping in like Captain fucking America and just lays down the fucking law.
Yeah, he's like, don't you fucking talk to her.
Yeah, fucking Smarms makes it clear that he is not up to the task.
Yeah.
And Ben just puts it down, I'm the fucking king up here. You can be boss of the basement, bitch.
Yep.
That kind of thing. And it works.
It does.
Yeah. And you just, again, cha-ching, another mark on, Halo for Ben. God damn, yeah.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He is. So as a group, they decide to try gassing up the truck.
Yeah.
So they can make it to a rescue center. How they're all going to fit in the truck, who knows? But that's besides the point. We get a shot of DC on the newscast talking about a crashed satellite with radiation that might be responsible for the zombies. And DC looks remarkably untroubled by zombies.
Well, because apparently they bury people at the drop of a hat. So they don't have anything to worry about. Their inventory of unburied dead is super low.
Yeah, it seems like just business as usual.
Yeah.
In the nation's capital. But they also mention that anyone injured should seek medical attention immediately.
Injured by one of the affected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun. Zombie lore.
Yeah.
You bit. You're gone.
So Ben tells Helen to go down and stay with the kid.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's already someone down there. I mean.
Yeah.
So they make a plan to get the truck. And Tom and Judy have a conversation because Tom's going to go out. He's part of the plan to go out and get the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And the lighting on them switches a lot. And I don't know if this was just the copy that we watched. I don't think so.
No. It
seems like a technical error in filming.
It was a fast action, pitch black night. And you got to remember, they didn't, Romero didn't have like a studio's, empire's worth of lighting treasure for filmmaking. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And you could tell from like the shots, bright bare ass and then super dark, which was a lot of them. And then those zombie cameos with the big makeup, they were brightly lit, but the ambient lighting was, you could tell it wasn't on purpose.
Right.
There just wasn't enough light to go around for all of it.
But it's especially distracting in this scene.
It is. This is where it gets kind of sloppy.
Yeah. But their conversation and the accompanying music makes it pretty clear that Tom is going to die when he goes to get the truck.
Any horror movie, when you have someone like Tom and Judy
having a meaningful conversation,
and they're meaningless characters.
Yes.
Somebody's going to fucking get it.
How much they love each other and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's almost like The Walking Dead. You know, Jesus Christ, we spent 7 minutes on Daryl and he's smiling. Fuck, is this where they kill him?
Right.
Right? Because that's a kiss of fucking death on that show.
Right. Or they play a really good score over him, you know, while he's having an introspective moment. And you're like, shit.
This is going to be it. It's the same in movies.
It is.
You know, all of a sudden, why am I listening to this fucking person who's been like way back in the background? Oh, bam. Because, okay. I somehow connected with them on some sort of fucking level. And now I'm supposed to feel bad that they just got chomped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
Anywho.
Yeah. The lighting. Okay, and here's one of the things. So, yeah, the lighting wasn't perfect, but like the lighting in the house was. Again, because I think he's got that one light. He's tried to, and it was stationary.
The light.
Yeah. There's a lot of movement in this film that isn't particularly well captured. But the one thing that I'm going to say is at this point in the film, every time I watch it, it's about here where it just dawns on me. Well, not really dawns on me, but it reminds me that the reason this movie works so well for what it is because of the type of film that Romero used. It's not high grade. It's not a high grade studio film because there is no tight focus anywhere. It's constantly fuzzy. And when you see him pull into focus, it's not because I'm spoiled watching, you know, fucking 4K TV and stuff. Because honestly, it's less impressive to me when it's at that resolution. But this whole thing of this is the film they could afford. It's super grainy, even in the bright light.
It is.
Right? And you can think about like Humphrey Bogart films and, you know, James Cagney and the gangster shit from the 30s and early 40s, right? It wasn't this fucking grainy.
That's true.
You know. So these choices by accident add to the superior nature of this film. And I'm going to compare that to Jaws. We mentioned Jaws a little about the, you know, deliberate music. I think I mentioned before, the only reason Jaws was a critical success is because fucking Bruce the Shark broke. Spielberg didn't have the balls, and I don't blame him. You know, new guy on the block, you get a check from a studio to make something. Last thing you want to do is get on the fucking phone and say, so the prop for this movie doesn't work.
Right. So...
But it forced him to do things that made it what it is.
Yeah.
And the film quality of this adds to this movie. This is the movie.
Right.
You know, I don't want to see the digitally remastered, restored version ever.
No. But so back to the movie, they go outside to get the truck, and Judy at the last minute, like, busts through the door, deciding to go out with them.
Right. So then you know.
You're like, oh, great. Super.
Yep.
3-piece gets lit on fire.
Yeah, he does.
And he, with his hands, tries to put it out.
And he also doesn't go up like gasoline-soaked balsa wood.
Right. Right.
Like some of the others do.
Apparently his suit is less flammable.
Well, he's 3-piece, you know.
They do manage to get the truck started while Ben is holding off the zombies with a torch made out of a table leg.
Yep.
And that torch accidentally lights up the truck when they put gas in the truck.
Well, yeah, there's a little loose action with the gas and gets kind of everywhere. And then,
yeah.
Like I said, this is clearly the sloppiest part of the film because none of this shit makes sense. It goes down super quick and it's so fucking improbable.
It is.
I mean, it goes beyond that realm of, well, you know, it's a movie and shit happens. This was kind of...
Yeah.
Almost like there was writer's block and they had to clinch this. So they just made something up. Do it.
Yeah, or they were going to do something more complex and it just didn't.
And that could be too.
I mean, maybe.
You know.
But Tom and Judy drive away from the gas pump and the truck ends up blowing up.
Because it's on fire.
Yep. It's on fire. And it's really sudden.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
You're gone. Okay.
Never mind the fact that they just fucking left Ben.
Right. But I guess it's a good thing they did.
Well, yeah. Lucky him. He was abandoned.
Yeah. So he's left on his own with the zombies, and he uses the torch to clear a path back to the house.
Yep.
And Cooper doesn't open the door for him.
Right. They
barred it up.
Yep. Sourpuss look on his face.
Yeah. And he's like standing there in the cellar door watching the door.
Yeah.
As Ben's banging on it like, you fuck. But Ben, kicks in the door and he does help Ben board it back up once Ben gets in.
Once Ben's back in, yeah. I better participate.
Right. He does debate it for a while. Then he goes to help.
Yeah.
And then they finish boarding up the door and Ben just punches him a few times in retribution.
He bitch slaps him around the living room like he's a fucking rag doll.
Yeah. And Cooper just takes it. Because he's a coward.
He is, and he gives him the smarms look.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got the zombies that are approaching the still burning pickup. So apparently they're not that fucking afraid of fire because this, thing is still flaming fairly well.
Yeah.
But they're going on some, barbecue cooked flesh, which
yum.
also doesn't make a lot of sense.
Nope, doesn't.
But they're digging it. And then we get a lot of establishing shots of them eating human. And then we get to the little girl was bitten.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No more beating around the bush.
Nope.
Ben doesn't think this is good news. And zombies are now making all kinds of moaning sounds outside.
And there's lots of them.
There are lots of them.
Yeah.
Ridiculous number.
Yeah.
Where'd they come from and why?
I don't know. Way more than 2.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Now, all of them are picking up rocks and shit.
Yeah.
So we're back to using the tools. And they're trying to get in and Ben's holding them back.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Barbara's just sitting there uselessly. And she starts talking again.
Yes.
And she says, "You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys." And Ben realizes, smartly, that she might have a car nearby.
Yeah.
That'd be handy, because we just blew up our only vehicle.
Yeah.
Right? And the next news bulletin that comes on starts calling the creatures ghouls. I do want to note that nowhere in this movie are the zombies actually called zombies.
They are not. Yeah, that came after.
Term that came later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because they were originally, Night of the Flesh Eaters.
Right.
Yeah, wasn't even Living Dead.
No. But, and we see some sort of backwoods local militia that's been assembled to find the ghouls. We don't get to see much else, though, because the power in the farmhouse gets cut out.
Right.
Yeah. So then we have Cooper plotting to get the gun away from Ben for no real reason other than he wants to be in charge, I guess.
Yeah, that's just it. He doesn't have a plan. He just wants to be in charge. He doesn't want to be told what to do.
Yeah. The zombies are working their way into the house and 3 pieces on the front lines.
Yep.
He never bites it.
Unfazed.
Yeah. Ben in this shuffle drops the gun and Cooper goes and picks it up and points it at Ben. What a dick.
Yeah.
For what? And Ben immediately wrestles it back and just straight up shoots him.
Yep.
And his body falls down in the cellar. Meanwhile, his wife doesn't give a shit because she's busy dealing with some zombies that have grabbed her through the window.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Barbara gets up and helps her out.
Yeah.
It's her first useful moment. Give this to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Helen, the wife, runs down to the cellar to find the daughter that got bit eating Cooper.
Right.
Yeah. And at this moment, I was like, yeah.
Well, yeah. on a lot of levels, finally.
Yeah.
Fucker,
Yeah. And then this is the weirdest bit for me.
Yeah, it is.
The daughter picks up a spade and kills Helen with it.
Yeah, well, a little gardening
like a little
spade. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and stabs her to death with it.
Yeah.
So, afraid of light, afraid of fire, can use tools, know how to open doors, do all this shit, can rip phone lines out, all this stuff, and then not all this stuff, can go fast, can't go fast. Now, all of a sudden, they use murder weapons.
Mm-hmm. Right?
So, inconsistency.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I'll bring it around later.
Back upstairs while wrestling with the zombies, Barbara sees zombie Johnny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Johnny's finally got his eggshell skull down the hill.
Yeah. Took him a while. But this would probably be a good time to get the keys from him, perhaps?
Maybe. At least check for him.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be weak and slow.
Yeah. But she gets taken.
Yeah.
By the zombie crowd. And Ben retreats to the cellar and boards it up from inside.
Yeah.
And then the zombies upstairs are beating on the door and groaning. And he kind of hunkers down.
Yeah. And then the house gets overrun. And there's really a tangible feeling of helplessness.
There is.
Right? Because you know where he's at and you know what's out there and they just come pouring in. Smarms Cooper comes back, reanimates as a zombie. Ben just puts his ass down. Helen's next, garden spade in her chest and all. And then she's dealt with. And then we have Ben alone in the basement with the sounds of a house full of zombies, And this is the first time in the film he looks absolutely fucking defeated.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah.
The list is, I'm out.
Yeah.
There's nothing more. This is it.
And then suddenly it's daylight. And there's this huge contrast in lighting and sound. Right?
Yes.
It's shoo. Oh. I mean, it's literally night and day.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a complete 180. And birds are chirping. And it's quiet. And there's the militia covering the field in a line. Yeah. And they're the search and rescue team, I guess.
Yeah. It is what it is.
And they're near the house, the farmhouse, and they're gonna check it out. Yeah. And it seems like they've gotten the zombie situation pretty much under control. And they basically say as much. Yeah,
there's a lot of quick conversation bits that they're pretty much on top of shit. Now it's just clean up.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense because radiation is a thing that sticks around for a while.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean...
Well, it is what it is. You got to bring everything to a conclusion.
I suppose.
I mean, this isn't, today, anyone who makes even we wrote Plan Z and we had planned on it having a sequel and then another sequel, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone does that. Romero didn't envision, franchising this shit.
No.
It's a typical film. You got to have closure. So,
right.
All right, we're getting on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, with the radiation and stuff, they're, schlepping through the field. Then we cut to the cellar. We see Ben. And there's light shining on him, which was weird because cellar windows wouldn't offer that much.
No.
But there it is. But he hears dogs and he hears shots and stuff. So he clambers up. The house is empty. And he goes towards the windows. And the thing is, they cut to shooting the zombies. This is another inconsistency. So as the zombies get shot, they're grabbing themselves.
Yeah.
Like in cops and robbers movies. Oh, ouch. Where they've been hit. And it's well, if they know that they're supposed to shoot him in the head, why do they keep shooting him in the fucking kidneys and the ass and the hips and,
Who knows?
Worst fucking shots ever, this militia. So he goes to the window to take a look out, and we quick cut outside, and the guy who plays the chief is so not an actor, right? They cut to him, and he's got to still be 100 yards of fucking way from this house.
I know.
Right? Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and shoot him in the head? And then bam. And then we see Ben fly back from the window. Ben's dead.
I know. And I've always been so pissed about that.
6-year-old me was raging. But here's the thing. By the time I got done watching this, it was like 1:30 in the morning on a Saturday night. Nobody else was up. You can't make sounds. Because we lived with, my grandparents, and you can't make sounds. So I had to very quietly in the middle of the night rage as only a 6-year-old could. That dumb fucker just killed Ben. All the shit Ben's been through. Fuck. And it still bugs me today. Yeah.
I mean, I get it, right?
Well, and it doesn't always have to be a happy ending. Right. And this is terror. You can make it through a bunch of shit and you can still fucking get taken out. Yeah. So, we have some static shots of Ben's body. And then we have credits rolling, and then we have still photos showing the wobbly, sinister music plays. We see Ben's body being placed on a pile, and he's next to Suit Zombie in the shot.
3-piece.
Or 3-piece, yep. He in 3-piece. God damn it. And then the last scene is actually film. It's movement where the fire is being lit and we fade out. So that's Night of the Living Dead. Right. The original. With our thoughts. Yeah. And, it's set for the genre. And there's really not a whole lot to talk about. We've mentioned there's, inconsistencies and we only say that because we go in now with a predisposition towards what zombies should be. These are Romero zombies. True. Now, when people are watching this for the first time back in 1968 and, the first 5 years it was out, none of this shit registered with them because this genuinely fucked people up. When they went to go see it.
It was the cutting edge of terror.
Yeah. I mean, this was on par with Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock fucked up a lot of people when it came to staying at rural hotels. Right? Right. Or even taking a shower. Not just talking about the actress, but people, man, I saw Psycho and I couldn't, I locked that fucking door. Or, I only take a shower when my husband or my boyfriend or my wife or someone, is there. Right. And stuff. So, yeah.
Well, it's funny because, we watch it now and we're like, this movie isn't really scary, but it was at the time. And I was actually talking to someone the other day about Hitchcock. And this person was like, yeah, I hadn't seen Birds until just recently. And I watched it. It was hilarious. And I'm like, that movie genuinely terrified people when it came out. Yeah. That was scary.
It was.
And you watch it now and it is a bit ridiculous, right? But at the time, that was what was scary.
The scariest movies are the ones that introduce us to something we haven't been exposed to. Right. These days, that's hard to do.
It is. There's a lot.
There's a lot of shit has gone on.
I know.
That's why, the whole thing of eating the dead and, eating their victims and stuff and, just fucking with people's minds and their morals and values. Yeah. They made a big thing about having to take the bodies of the dead recently deceased outside and burn them. And they went into this big diatribe, like 5 solid minutes on, too bad, so sad. You can't have funeral rites. Now, that was a big deal back then. Right. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into it because it was in my notes, but it's not, but that's the thing. When somebody passes, you have this whole big thing, right? No matter where you're from or what you do. And you have this thing that you do. And now back then, the country as a whole wasn't good, kindly taking to someone telling them how to change their shit. So imagine in a horror movie where someone's saying, well, yeah, if somebody dies, you just got to go out and set fucking fire to them like the balsa wood.
And they'll go up like their balsa wood.
Well, but we have this. No time for that shit. Right. Okay. The way you do things and the way you live is done. Right. Now, this wasn't a whole apocalypse because clearly everything came back around and they were okay in the end.
Yeah. Whole situation's done with now.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing is, this movie generally messed people up. Now, let's come forward to 2019. Okay. When we watched this for our note taking, we had our daughter watching it with us. Right. She fell asleep.
She was so bored by it.
She actually grabbed a pillow, laid on the floor, grabbed a blanket, and was out.
Yeah.
This didn't engage her one bit.
No, it didn't.
So clearly didn't keep her up, but many people had many a sleepless night. Now, 6-year-old me, I didn't have a problem going to sleep because I was heavily into this shit. But the way I looked at things was very different. And that had a lot to do with not what was going on, but with the camera shots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's our discussions / things we point out. Night of the Living Dead. It is a classic. It's the classic zombie movie.
Yeah.
And something you should watch.
And a lot of the things, just to kind of sum up that this movie did right.
Yes.
Sound design.
Yes.
Shot, framing, and lighting. Get at least one solid actor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying the others weren't great, but Ben, Dwayne, he was amazing.
Yeah, presence.
And this movie broke down a lot of societal conventions. And it broke rules.
Yeah.
And that's not something that rules are there for a reason, right?
For the most part, And I mean, yeah, it did. It challenged the moral
right
set of standards that most of the country had at the time.
It did. And that is part of the reason that it was so successfully, scary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you feel like, this isn't really normally done, but I feel like it's really important that this is a part of the story, just do it.
Right. If that's the story, I'll always maintain fucking skip it. Write a different movie.
Oh, yeah. If the story is just to showcase.
We discussed that previously.
Let's not talk about it.
On, there's that thing. Well, fuck that thing. That thing had no point being there. Anyway. All right. B-siders.
Go to our website.
Go to our website, www.lordsofmisruleproductions.com. Everything is there. Not even going to get into it. All the links for most of the podcast platforms, if you want to listen to it on a different platform than off a website. If yours isn't listed, drop us a note.
Yeah.
And we'll see about getting it up there.
Right.
There is also a link to our Patreon page.
Yes.
So you don't have to do patreon.com/Bravo for the B-side, all one word. You just use the link. It'll take you there and you can see some stuff that we put up there. If you're not a patron, you'll see some stuff that you can't look at until you become a patron.
And if you like what we do, please consider becoming a patron for us.
Yeah. Not too proud to, say, hey, if you like it, show some support. We would appreciate it.
It would really help us out.
And as you're listening, subscribe, give us a rating, give us a review on whatever platform that you're on. Those are important. All of this seems like nonsense and shameless, grabbing for the gold, but it's the kind of thing that you have to do. So we're doing it.
Yes.
And always go look for some B movies, folks. Go find them. Find these wonderful things. They don't have to be from 1968. It doesn't have to be a pinnacle movie in its genre. Just go find these indie films. Indie films are all B films.
They are.
They're indie films. Now, if 20th Century Fox gets a hold of it and puts it out there and spends, $150 million on advertising, that's way after the shit was done.
Right.
that director and that producer, had to, fucking bust nuts to get this shit made. And then, the studio swoops in at the end and says, oh, well, okay. Seems pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, support these indie filmmakers, support the B films themselves. When the studios make a B movie themselves, it's not always high-end actors, again, like Bruce Campbell. king of the B movies.
Yeah.
And he knows it, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's wonderful. Learn some lessons from this stuff. And everyone that you watch, there's something to learn from, good or bad.
Yeah. And there's always something to enjoy.
Yes. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and we will see you. I keep saying see you. We do see you. You don't know it. And yes, that's the premise for many a modern horror movie.
You will hear us next week.
You will hear us next week with our next episode. All right. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Jim.
I'm Danny.
And we are Bravo for the B-side. Good night, folks.
Good night.